Morning, morning, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Bread for Soul Convos with myself, Sir LSG. And thank you, firstly, for joining us this morning, for joining me and my guest this morning. And if it's your first time watching, welcome to the show. We're hoping to keep. I'm hoping to keep you on every morning. We do this every morning from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. South African time. But I mean, the restream happens on YouTube later in the evening at 8 p.m. And shout out to my partners at Best Beats TV. You know, the different pages that we are cross posting from. Hit Refresh, Jackie Queen's page, who's my guest today, DJ Soul Diva, and everybody who's just like has an input on the show. I really, really do appreciate you. And my guest today is singer, songwriter, and label owner who's worked with the Capo Inonapa, who's worked with CEO, who I had on the show yesterday, with Dawson, Lilac Jeans, Fistus Mixwell, and more. Owns her own label, Bay Electronica. Welcome to the show, Jackie Queens.
Hello, thank you for having me.
How are you? How are you this morning?
I'm good. I'm good.
You
I'm
sounded a
good.
bit hesitant to say good or not. What else is
Yeah,
happening in
it's
between?
the corona coaster, it's like up and down. Some days you're good, some days you're tired of being in the house all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm okay.
Um.
I'm good.
Yeah. I mean, just yesterday when we were talking, you said that you do other work. You know, like you were at work, and you were busy. What do you do for the British Council?
Yeah, so I work as an assistant project manager there and in the arts department. So when we're not coroning, we do all kinds of amazing things in the creative sector with creatives between the ages of 18 to 35, um, bridging creative audiences between South Africa and the UK in creative economy festivals and sort of building connections. So, yeah, but we're still doing that,
Yeah.
which is why
That is so
today.
dope. I didn't know about that, and I mean, in 2 years I'll be 35, so I need to do, I need to be doing something soon, right?
Well, that's the thing, you youth ends at 35.
I need to be, yeah, I need to be getting my life in order very soon, before I'm considered an adult. I mean, like, I'm an adult. It's so weird when I watch the news and they're like, a 22-year-old man died. I'm like, man, 22, so like, I mean, yeah, anyway. I want to talk about, let's get into talking about music. And you're a singer, songwriter, you a vocalist, also own your own label. But if you could just like set the foundation and talk about your earliest memories of music. What are
Wow, my earliest memories of music are listening to the radio at home and taping over my mom's tapes.
Oh, damn.
Like, I'm sure everybody's done that. I don't know, was it just me? But
No, no.
yeah, well, we used to do that. We used to tape like the radio shows on my mom's cassette tapes, like because she used to listen to like Kenny G and who else did she used to listen to? Like Sanko Mota. Actually, I don't know if I ever taped over Sanko Mota because I really liked them. But we tape over like the radio songs, like Boys to Men and all those like 90s R&B tracks, like on his cassette tapes. And then when CDs came along, we used to have like a ton of CDs, like just a ton, like a lot of CDs. And I remember watching Michael Jackson's Bucharest concert a million times. Like those are my earliest memories of music.
Yeah. And when did
Yeah.
you start to sort of, I mean, like, it's a good thing you are taping over Kenny G and not Sanko Mota, you know. I'm proud of you for that. But I want to ask you, like, when did you then realize that you could be doing the music thing yourself?
That actually came really late. Well, I would say late because a lot of people start quite early and they're like, I've always known I wanted to sing, but I always knew I could sing. It was never something I thought I could pursue as a career, though. So that sort of came about when I moved to South Africa from the UK. And I was like, how old was I then? 23, 24. And I used to work in a restaurant where the waiters and waitresses would sing as part of the entertainment. So that just sort of started
Were you working for
like,
Spur?
no,
The
it wasn't actually.
I'm thinking you were singing happy birthday songs at Spur. I'm like,
No,
yay!
no,
Okay, okay.
it was actually a what did they used to call it? A theatrical dining restaurant.
Oh,
So when I actually moved to Cape Town, my mom was like, "You should go and get a job there." But it was December time, so they were closed, and it was like one of the first places I went looking for a job because I was going to university at the time. And then yeah, and I was working there, and I just like it was a place where people who were interested in music or music students from the music school at UCT or the Waterfront Theatre School, just anyone who liked to sing or play an instrument or whatever, used to go and work because it was just fun. Like you sing all these covers, and so that's basically where it sort of started because I used to sing pretty much every day for like an hour, 2 hours at a time, maybe an hour actually.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, so that's pretty much where it started, and then I I started thinking about working with producers, and at the time, that was like the days of country. So I found a friend, someone who's now a very good friend of mine, and was like really instrumental in my career. Still is actually. Yeah, and that's pretty much where it started. But I think I would say even now I'm just like music is not something that I consider as like a full-time thing or something I want to do for the rest of my life. It's just one of the things that I do.
When you say someone, are you talking about Dice Jones?
Yeah, man, that's my guy.
Yeah, cool.
That's my guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did my homework. But what I
Oh,
did,
you did.
I
You did.
did.
Because I talk about him all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
I mean, but
yeah.
what I didn't know though about you that you stayed in the UK. So I've always thought you went from Zim to South Africa. Um, how old were you when you moved to the UK? And I'm trying to just because I wanted to get to ask you.
I see.
Really?
You got a picture of Dice. That's
Yeah,
cute.
yeah, yeah. I did. But I wanted to ask you with regards to being from like being a Zimbabwean, but like living in South Africa, right? Especially with regards to what we have seen in the past. Well, I mean, recently as well, with the scourge of homophobic attacks, not homophobic, xenophobic attacks, um, with within South Africa, and especially with people from. I mean, we've got a lot of people from Zim staying in South Africa, making a living, and mostly getting away from the bad situation that people find themselves in Zimbabwe, and just trying to come and make a living just like anybody else would do. Like, I come from Mafikeng, and I moved to Johannesburg for school, but mainly I stayed because of the music, and this is where I feel like that's migration on its own way. But what has been your thoughts with regards to the way xenophobic attacks, and just the thought with regards to Africans, the way we treat one another?
I mean, I think a lot of people don't um deal with facts for the most part. So you'll find that xenophobic attitudes are buttressed by just ignorance, really, around sort of, say, for example, how many immigrants live in this country, how many immigrants actually have jobs and what kind of jobs they have. And also, it's very, I would say it's anti-black because you have a lot of white people who are not from South Africa, but they don't get the same kind of treatment. You know, they're not spoken about in the same way. But when you think about, sort of what I would say, sort of causes it. I don't want to say causes it, but like sort of, yeah, what's sort of behind it, it has to do with, lack of opportunities, inequality, poverty, that kind of thing. So I kind of feel like it's a very complicated thing, but also like being Zimbabwean myself, I know that, there are a lot of people who say, Zimbabweans, we work hard and all of that. But then at the same time, it's more to do with just exploitation, like people like to employ foreigners because they can pay them less,
Mm.
um, and they can ill treat them. So it's a very complicated thing. For me, it's also very sad because as a Zimbabwean, I think anybody would just want to go home,
Yeah.
like if people had the choice, they would be at home, like and they they move for very different reasons, mostly economic. For some people, they have a choice, they can afford to live at home, but they just prefer to travel. They want to expand their lives. And I think people should be allowed to do that and they shouldn't be persecuted
Mm.
um, for that.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, there's like, yeah, for me, it's quite hurtful actually to see how people are treated and to know that it's just, people who are in, yeah, the inhumanity of it. Like, it's very, yeah, it's very hurtful
Yeah,
actually.
yeah, it is. It is, and I think that just as people, we need to be more educated. Like about one another and about one another's struggles, because sometimes, like, when I view my struggles as my struggles, but I don't see your struggles as a fellow black person, you know, um, it can be, there can be a disconnect with that. And it's a very selfish way of looking at things. But I think also it's the system that we've been brought up, with regards to as black people, just not being, or always being taught to divide, against one another, to separate from one another. And I think it's one of those things where when you see another black person fighting for their life and actually making a living and deciding that they're actually going to take a job that you wouldn't take, and you might see it as this person is taking my job and I should be getting paid a bit, like I think it's levels, and I certainly don't have all the answers to that. But certainly when it comes to just relating to one another, and just relating to one another's struggles, I think that's how we get to learn, about one another, and that's how we will actually unify better as black people. But I mean, I promise you, we will talk about the music there. But I wanna ask you, I wanna ask you about, I wanna ask you about. Well, I've got a question of the day today, and the question for today is, to everybody who's watching, you can answer in the comment section. We'll show your answers towards the end of the show. And the question is: has the music industry become more inclusive to women and people of the LGBTQ community? I mean, obviously, in the past that hasn't been the case, but are we seeing the change? Has the music industry become more inclusive to women and people of the LGBTQ community? And then you can, like I said, share your answers in the comment section. We will share some of those towards the end of the show. I mean, I know you are a strong advocate for equality within the music industry. What is your stance with regards to that?
In general, I could talk about this all day. But yeah, I think, I just my stance is that more can be done. That's my general stance. Is that more can be done to include women and marginalized groups. More can be done to educate people. More can be done to ensure that we work fairly. Just yeah, generally more can be done. I think we can do more. I'm not sure why we don't, but yeah, we can do more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, like one of the stances, because I see you don't want to be specific. I mean, one of the things that you have, I've seen, a post from you, and you boycotted all events that don't include females on their lineup. So if you see an all male lineup, you've decided to take a stance up against that and say that you're not gonna be part of that.
Yeah.
Basic.
I mean, that's a decision I took 2, 3 years ago now. So I just generally, unless it's like someone I know who's playing, who I haven't seen in a long time, and they're from another city or another country, and I really want to see them play, I will do the odds, you know, gig where, there's like no women on the lineup. But generally, I don't. For me, it was a decision about what, like, where to put my money, in a sense, where I'm going to take myself and where my feet are going to go in terms of supporting women and supporting promoters who are interested in equalizing the music industry. So, I just don't go to events where there aren't any women on the bill ever. I don't support those kinds of events. My um, stance on that in terms of bookings is the same. Um, so if, like, for example, like in August, I remember when I first moved to Joburg, someone had asked me if I could play for like a women's month event, and I was like, do you book women all through the year? And he was like, no. And I was like, okay, well then I won't play. So,
Mm,
like, what's the point? I mean, women, we're like half of the population. Surely you can find, women to play at your events.
mm,
And there are tons of them,
yeah,
so many.
yeah.
So yeah, that's what I mean when I say we can do more. It's just a question of, do you want to?
Mm. And I like that because I do also believe that the promotion of women is needed. Um, I mean, our government has a stance, has a whole policy, yeah, women and gender equality, and the promotion of women into government spaces. We've seen the government specifically saying that they want to have 60%, of the whole cabinet being women, and I think yes, it's a good thing that we should be doing, definitely with the music industry. I do it with my show too. I try to include as many women as possible who are doing well, but I also don't want to do it only on the basis that they are women. I want to do it on the basis that somebody has actually done good work and they deserve to be sharing their stories, or at least they've got stories to share that I believe are worthy for other people to learn from. I know my boss from Don't Look Down Productions, on Hit Refresh, he's the same with regards to, he doesn't want to have a Women's Month event, in August, because he's like, if we're gonna invite women, let's invite women to come and play throughout the year. It shouldn't be just a Women's Month, maybe a special Women's Month thing, but even that he doesn't really want to do that because he feels that he includes women throughout the year. So I want to ask you about collaborations. You've done a lot, especially within house music. Um, how do you get to decide who you collaborate with?
Um, Usually it starts with the song itself. Um, and even before that, it's like a whole process of like, um, if I get the song and I really like it, I have to think about who the producer is, in the sense of like, um the kind of music they make, the kind of person that they are. Also, like I'm really big on working with nice people. I don't work with shitty people.
100%.
um, yeah, and yeah, it usually starts with the music. It usually starts with the music. And most of the time, it's also about like how I'm feeling, where I am, sort of like personally, because like I said, I work. So most of the time, I have to consider that as well. Because even though I do enjoy music, I don't like for it to be all consuming, and I like to have all the other things in my life, you know.
Mm.
So sometimes it depends on like how much work I've got to do, and it also depends on where the person wants to put the song in terms of labels. Um, yeah, I'm kind of like I'm really big on that, um, because I don't like to release too much music on external labels. Like I have my own label, for that reason. And yeah, I have this thing about just not releasing on external labels, in the sense that we put out so much of our music on European labels. Like it's ridiculous, you know, like to the extent that so few of us actually put our music out on our own.
Mm.
So
Mm.
I'm very much big on, yeah, I always ask like, where are you planning on putting this out before we even get to the part where I start singing the song. Um and then yeah, and then also like what kind of deal I'm gonna get also. So a lot of the time, you know, I don't end up doing a collaboration because it's not what I want on the back end, you know,
Mm.
like in terms of splits, like in terms of like titling the song. Um, yeah. So
Yeah.
there's a lot that goes into me deciding if I'm going to collaborate with someone. Yeah.
Yeah. And I want to ask you, what are some of the, or I wanted to ask you about the seamless collaborations, because collaboration sometimes can be a tricky thing and it doesn't really go well at times. Um, but I mean, like, I'm sure I mean, you've worked with a lot of artists, Da Capo, like I said, Napa, just to mention a few, Kususa guys. But I want to ask you, what are some of the situations that were not so nice with regards to collaborating, without necessarily mentioning names? But I want to ask you about situations that happened and were not so cool with regards to collaborating with other people.
Let me think. Yeah. Okay. So, um, like speaking just in general terms, like some of the hiccups when it comes to collaborating are like there was a time when I did a collab with someone, and we the executive producer ended up having like an altercation with this person for some reason, right? And then within that, he sort of like sent um like the because sometimes, you know, when you collaborate with people and they put out music, you don't get all the information at the same time. So one of the like my biggest pet peeves is like contracts, right? So you collaborate with someone, you do a track, and they say, oh, okay, I'm going to send you the contract, and you don't get the contract. So this executive producer had an altercation with this guy, and then he ended up sending me all the sort of information on that they had sent, like the metadata for the track. And then it turned out that this guy had put his name on as a writer, as a songwriter. So he basically listed the song as himself as the songwriter, and he wasn't. Yeah, so you get people who do stuff like that sometimes, which is why you have to like register with Samuel and Capasso and all of that, and make sure that you get in there
Yeah.
first. Yeah, so that was the one thing. And then like, yeah, for me it's mostly contracts that are like my biggest pet peeves when it comes to collaborations, and my biggest like problems, because I'm kind of at a point now where people um know what, that I'm uncompromising in a way. So it's kind of like, yeah, I get like I really have like issues when it comes to collaborations in terms of like creatively or otherwise. It's just usually just that. It's like, but now I'm at a point where I don't send vocals out if I don't have a contract now. It's also another reason why I don't do studio recordings. I prefer not to do studio recordings unless it's with someone I trust, because like trying to get paperwork out of people after a release is a nightmare.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I want to talk about some of the people that you collaborated with. Like you say, you've collaborated. You usually want to collaborate with people that you get along with. CEO Dawson is one of them. I'm just playing some pictures now to people, in Onapa. But what do you mean with regards to you don't want to be collaborating in studio?
Well, what I mean is like, it's not that I don't want to collaborate in studio. It's just that I've done a few collaborations where people are like, "Come through, sing a song, you sing a song," and then it's like, "Okay, fine. Can I get my contract, please?" And I know people think it's like a really it's a small thing, but it's a major thing to me because I consider my music generational wealth. Okay. I consider it something that I'm going to pass down to my son. And if for whatever reason, at some point, a song that I've worked on, I don't know, once I die, gets picked up for something and it earns a lot of money, and there's no trail to say that Jack Colleen wrote this song, then that's an inheritance that my children and their children's children are, disenfranchised from. That's how I view my music. To me, that's how seriously I take it.
Mm.
So something like having a contract is paramount to me. So, I love doing studio work. I actually enjoy being in the studio a lot. But yeah, like it's like like people are just, yeah, um they don't deliver on that front. So I
True.
usually prefer to have control over it. So I'll record it, I'll send you a demo. When if you're happy, we sign the contract, and then you can have your vocals.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
I put it in a file somewhere so that, I know it's there and it's sorted,
I mean,
like that's it's just my philosophy. Like it's just purely based on the fact that I think my music is generational wealth. That it's mine. It belongs to me. Or even if it's a collaboration, but still it's something I created.
mm.
You know.
And I had a lawyer on my show, one of the earlier episodes, and I think I should actually be getting him soon again, just to discuss, contracts matters because, like you say, people will be going into studio, and it's all fun and games. We are all friends at that time. The song is hot. Everybody's just creative, and the song is so dope. And until the song comes out, and you're not credited properly, the publishing splits are not done properly, and your own IP within the song is not respected, and that's when artists. Then we start seeing artists. This guy took my song. He robbed me. He won a summer without me. He got royalties without me, and it's all of those things that before you even get to studio, I think people should just be sorting out the contract issues. Man, I like your song. I really want to work on it. By the way, here's an agreement, and you get this template agreement. Anybody can go online and say template agreement for collaborations, whether as a songwriter, as a composer, as a producer too. You can get those agreements and sort out the legalities before collaborating. And which brings me to this point. You've drafted a document that you've recently published online, and you titled it "Making Music Together." Basically, just running through different aspects. Getting started. What, especially as a singer who wants to be collaborating with producer or an established artist, some of the things that you mentioned, what they want to know, the terms, fees, the splits, the paperwork, different documents, downloadable music agreements, once the song is done, like what to do next. And I want to put a bit of focus specifically on this. If you could just run us down that document, maybe bit by bit. I don't know if you would remember, but I've got the slides with me. The first one, which was contacting the other artist. How would you, as a new artist, or let me referring to your advice, how would a new artist should be contacting an established artist or producer that they want to collaborate with?
I think respectfully is the most important thing because, like, I mean, often when people get in touch with me, they just go hi or hey or like, and I'm a grown auntie, man. Like, greet properly. Say hello. How are you? I'm so and so. This is why I'm getting in touch with you. Like, and people don't understand that artists, especially ones who are relatively busy, don't have the time to be like hi and then like a back and forth. How are you doing? How was your day? Like they don't have that kind of time.
True.
And you're even fortunate if somebody responds to you. Like, most artists have someone else. If they're not like really like starting out, they already have like outsourced that to somebody else who's gonna do the contacting to them. So you need to come out the gate. Tell me what you want, why you're contacting me, and if you're sending me music, or if you want to work with me like as a producer, send me links so I can hear some of your stuff. Like people expect me to now go and start researching you, looking up your links on Traxsource or SoundCloud. You have to make me interested, and I'm not going to be interested if I have to go and research you unless I've heard of you before. Then it's like, oh, okay, cool. I've always wanted to work with this person, you know. But I think fundamentally, like that's a good place to start.
Mm.
Introduce yourself. Send links to your music. Don't send the MP3 because you're gonna clog up someone's inbox. You know. Yeah, and just start there. And if people don't respond, don't get hard up about it. I remember like a couple of years ago, I went through this like phase where people were just being really, really mean. At some point, like people will say things like, "Oh, you only want to work with big producers now," or
Yeah.
and you're like,
And you
actually,
can
it's
say,
not.
yeah, if you wanted to, like there's nothing wrong with it. Come on, guys. Jeez.
And I'm just like, I don't understand. I just don't have the time to sing you songs. Why are you doing this? So then it's like, and they also don't understand that you build relationships over time. Like I can do a song with Inu now because we've been collaborators since the very beginning.
True. Yeah.
We've had a relationship over time, and even in that relationship we haven't always made music. We've just been friends. We've always just so people really underestimate those kinds of things.
Hmm. And I
um
think if I could get in
yeah.
in there just a bit, like the introduction thing is so underrated. Um, guys, like you should really check out this document that Jackie Queens put up. It you can just Google search, making music together, Jackie Queens. It will pop up at the top of the search, and you say so many good things there. I mean, like introduction. If you're sending somebody an inbox, most artists now are in charge of their social media accounts, and you can easily inbox somebody or DM someone, and like, but to be saying hi, you know like you say, how are you? Fine. How are you? Fine. It's it don't, you'll probably not get a response like Jackie Queen said. But another thing is, I find that don't have any expectation, like with when you actually go out and ask somebody for collaboration, or even ask somebody for advised to listen to your music, to give you feedback. Nobody owes you any feedback. Firstly, once you let yourself know that, now you are aware that, okay, this person might give me feedback, if they have to, or if they feel like giving me feedback, if they have the time to give me feedback, if they've actually had the time to listen to my song. But nobody owes you any feedback, nobody owes you any response. Once you get that out of your mind, then you'll free your mind from expecting people to respond to you. Because they, man, I can tell you, when I in 2011, I was still part of, towards the end of my journey on Hood Natives in 2011. This is what I used to do every day, and I kid you not, I would go every day and go on Track Source and think about, go and listen to the songs that I like, and within those songs, what I would do and be like, okay, this song is released on this label. Let me look up the label, search for the label website, find an email, find a Facebook page, whatever that I could find, any contact of some sort to that label, and I would be sending that those labels music each and every day. Did I get responses from all of them? No. Did I get yeses from all of them? Definitely no. And I'm so glad that I got some no's, because some of the songs that I got on Gogo Music, which now became, built a relationship between myself and Ralph Gam, could have never happened had those songs been released on certain labels. So that's another thing, that when you try and collaborate with people or try and reach out to people, sometimes it's not, the timing is not right, but just be aware that it's, you are at the mercy of that person, especially as an up and coming artist. I just wanted to clear that up. Hey, I talk a lot. But just getting onto onto your document, right? You spoke about paperwork, but there's another thing. Once the song is done, so the collaboration is done and everything is there, what is there to look after now, between the two artists?
Yeah, so I mean, when you're working with artists who are starting out, right? There aren't that many sort of expectations. So, like, what I would expect from an artist that's starting out as compared to a label, that has existed for a very long time is very, very different. Um, but generally, I think that's the part that tends to fall apart very quickly. Because it's like the song is done now, and then like things just sort of disintegrate. You like stop communicating with the person, or like sometimes producers do this thing where you do a song for them, and then it's like they say, "Oh no, I'm gonna put it out at this time or whenever," and you just never hear back from them. And then the next minute the song, you wake up and the song is out. you know
People are tweeting you now.
yeah, and you're like, oh, but I didn't know it was coming out. So just those kinds of things, like just courtesy. And one of the things that people really, really underestimate is the quality of the actual song. So like, invest in a good mix down, invest in a good master. Those things really, really go a long way, especially when you're thinking about pitching your songs to uh, playlists, or pitching your songs or sending promos to DJs, because I mean, it has to be good quality for somebody to play it, right? So that's very important. Don't underestimate that. And then also just like planning, like planning your release. I mean, the reason why I started very electronic was because I wanted to learn how to release music, because I feel like we have a lot of people who know how to make music, but we don't have a lot of people who know what to do with it once it's made.
Mm.
Everybody's making songs, everybody's singing, everybody's producing, everybody's DJing, but there are very, very few people who are actually learning what to do when the song is finished, beyond just putting it up online, sending it for promos, to DJs, and spamming people. Like, after that,
Yeah.
because there's like a ton of stuff that you can do with that. As
Mm.
a vocalist or as a songwriter, you can actually make money when people Google your songs.
Mm.
But if your lyrics are not online, then you're not gonna make money.
Mm.
So you can go register with Lyric Find, send your lyrics, and every time people Google your songs and they look for the lyrics, you're earning a little bit of change.
Mm.
So it's stuff like that, like small things
Yeah.
that people don't really take care of, and then obviously registering your songs, making sure that everything is registered properly, especially if you want your song to play on radio. Like from time to time, people will send you promos, and you'll find that they have everything there except the work number, that thumb number, and they said, and you can see sometimes people do this thing where they send emails and like everybody's CC'd, so you know that they're sending to DJs, to radio stations, or whatever. But if you want your song to be played on camera, you need a work number.
Mm. Mm. And some of
All
this
of those things.
information, sorry to cut you off, I feel that as I've got empathy because it's not um, it's easy to say information is available on the internet, but if somebody doesn't know what to look for, that information is not really available for them. You know what I mean? Like it's there,
Yeah.
but if we're not teaching people what exactly to be searching for with regards to their music, so I wonder if you can touch on some of the few things with regards to opening and running a label, especially just at an administrative level. What are some of the things to look out for with regards to running your own label?
I mean, my label is very small. It's not as extensive as a lot of people's, but even within that, there's just like wahala. So like you have like the admin is it's intensive. And like you said, nobody really like tells you how to do these things. Like you kind of have to learn them on your own. And one of the things that I really um would love to be more accessible, especially for people who start labels, is the administrative end of it. But that normally comes like if you register with labels, like I mean distributors like Label Works, they have like a very strong sort of back end. But even then you still have to apply, and then it's kind of like either you can get accepted or denied, which is why I really liked STEM before they only started accepting high selling labels. Like I used to be on STEM, and the thing with STEM was like you could upload your music, right? And then all the splits and everything, like in terms of payments, was embedded in the system to the extent that unless everybody who was a part of the song said yes and ticked and registered for their money to be paid, the music wouldn't be put out.
Mm.
And then automatically, once it starts selling, the money is distributed to everybody,
Mm.
like without you having to think about it.
Mm.
So for me, that's like the one thing, and it's taken me like years to actually figure it out. Because yeah, that kind of stuff is really intensive. But now I'm with Label Works now, and that makes it much easier. So I would say if you're gonna start a label, like try and get a distributor that minimizes your administrative work as much as possible,
Mm.
um, so that you can keep abreast with those kinds of things. Like so you can be able to, you know, count to people and stuff. Because I really struggle with that. I
Mm.
really struggle with that, and I'm
Mm.
looking forward to actually like not having to do that anymore.
Yeah, because sometimes, like we always hear people, no man, you need to be independent. Run your own label. It's not,
It's
it's not, it's not fun. Like I mean, like I can just think with my album, and I licensed my album on Gogo, ne? But I had to do agreements, my own agreements between my collaborators, like songwriter agreements, session musicians agreements, and stuff like that. So I had to do those that on its own, and considering that when the money gets paid from Gogo for the album, if ever the money gets paid, if you sell enough So if you sell enough and the money gets paid to me, now I've got the responsibility to be paying back all of the artists based on our contract splits. You know, you pay back each and every artist individually, and that's just one album. So you can imagine if you're running your own label and you are a person who's releasing 2 albums a year, 10 singles a year, that's a lot of admin on its own. So it's not as easy as, guys, I'm independent, own my own stuff. Yes, own your own copyright, own your own publishing, but owning your own label is a different ball game altogether. And I think before you do that as a person, as an artist, you need to at least learn the back end of it and the administrative stuff that you need to take care of. Um, I wanna
I
get.
agree.
Sorry, you were saying?
No, saying I agree. I totally agree.
Yeah, cool, cool, cool. I wanna talk to you about your friend Tandy Dry. Um, like, what is your relationship together?
Well, Tandy, when I came to Joburg, she was my first DJ actually when I was here, and yeah, we developed a friendship. She released some stuff from my label, and yeah,
Is that it? Like, I thought you guys do work a bit more extensively because I've seen you
we
guys.
well, we haven't done anything in a while. I mean, I last wrote some stuff for her. Well, not for her, but like we wrote a couple of tracks together. Um, yeah, and like pretty much at the moment, it's like we haven't spoken in a while. But she's definitely someone who I respect and whose work is immensely important. I often speak about her all the time to people who I know, and whenever there's something that comes up that I think, oh gosh, this would be perfect for her, I get in touch with her manager, and yeah, so she's someone whose work I deeply respect, and she's someone who I think has the potential to do great things because she's a triple threat, right? She's a DJ, she's a producer, and she's a singer songwriter.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah. And she's
yeah,
been at
she's
it for
like,
some time, like that's what I like. For somebody, it's not
yeah,
easy to
she's,
to remain in the industry for such a long time.
yeah, she's quite the hustler.
Mm.
So, I mean, she's definitely someone who I respect, and her work is. I mean, I'm just really looking forward to seeing her like completely. I was gonna swear, completely like
Smash it,
tear it up.
smash it. Let's say smash it. Yeah. Anyway,
So
I want to ask about you guys went to ADE Amsterdam last year, 2019 October. How was it performing at the Liberation event? And secondly, um, did you guys, you know, go to Amsterdam, like save up your own money and spend your own money to go there so that you could hustle gigs while you are there?
yeah, basically that's what happened. Like, I mean, there's apparently funding that you can get from DTI, and this is how, like, some people have been doing it for quite a while now, actually. So it used to be that they were like, you can, like, there were people who would take like groups, like I know, like the Winter Music Conference and that Miami conference, and you could do this by getting funding from DTI. But then the thing is that you first have to take the trip and then come back, and then they give you the money back, which is like
Eh,
bizarre.
yeah, it might not
It's
come.
so bizarre because you go there on the pretext that you are, it's like a cultural product. It's something that it's an export. Yeah, it's an export product basically. So you're going to showcase your work and whatever. So we tried that. We found out that that wasn't going to work, and then we tried the National Arts Council. And that year, when I applied, they took so long to get back to us. Like, the applications closed, and by the time they closed like in July or something, and then by the time we needed to go, they still hadn't made a decision on who they were going to give funding to.
Mm.
We tried to get sponsorship. No one would sponsor us. So yeah, eventually we had to fund it ourselves. Um, Actually, one of my friends actually helped us out. Um, um, Silk too from drums because we were doing a showcase at his party. So yeah, we had to basically get ourselves there,
Mm.
and but we were very fortunate that time he was able to like get us money for our tickets to go.
Yeah,
You know,
that is dope.
um, yeah.
That is dope. And people, I mean, guys, if you're an artist and you thinking about artists traveling abroad and playing in Europe, it doesn't start with the private jets. You know, like if you didn't know, it does not start with the first class and business class flights. I'm testament to that because I mean I went abroad twice only, but each of those two times it was economy class. It was trying to, if you're giving a fee, you need to decide, are you going to be sleeping at a $500 hotel, or you're gonna be sleeping in a motel that's like within your budget so that you can stay a bit longer. You can see the place around for a couple of days, and you can actually make those connections. So um, another person who has done that, people might not know, is Temba Euphonic. When Euphonic went to, as Temba went to Europe, he was paying his own flights. He was paying his own hotels. He was actually playing for free without getting paid, just to get the name out there, to get connected. And obviously, having connections with Black Coffee does help. But the fact is, the first time you go there, if you wanna build your name abroad, when nobody knows you abroad, this is where you start by saving your own money, spending your own money, making those networks now before you go, so that by the time you go, at least you can play 2 gigs here, 2 gigs there, people know you, and you build just like that. Definitely doesn't start with the first class flights. um
No, it
yeah,
doesn't.
no, it doesn't. And I want to ask you, well, about performing, right? Because just talking about Sunday Dry, I've seen you, seen her DJing for you at your performances. Um, will we see you performing outside the DJ setup and just more on a live band setup? Is that a plan for you?
Um, I don't know. I've wanted to. I've always. I mean, I used to be in a band when I was in Cape Town. I was in an 8 piece swing band. I used to front an 8 piece swing band and manage it. So I love playing live. Um, Maybe adding an instrument or two, but I'd like playing with a DJ because it's low maintenance.
Hmm.
I mean, even now it's just like it's difficult getting to travel with a DJ because people don't want to pay for 2 tickets.
Right. True.
They're
Yeah.
like, no, two people, no, they want to pay just for one person. And like my gig at Liberation, actually, I was very, very fortunate to play that gig because um, someone I knew, my friend Mark, was in um, Netherlands at the same time. He was gonna be in the Netherlands at the same time, and that was the only way. Even the same was for the gig in Kenya. That was the only way that I was gonna be able to play those gigs because he just happened to be in those cities because he travels a lot for work, and he knows my music really well. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to make it because they couldn't afford to send 2 people to pay for 2 people to go. So yeah, the DJ thing is definitely going to stay, but also because I feel like we're not like there isn't space. for vocalists. Not that there isn't space, but like you just don't see vocalists performing.
True.
And I want to do that because that's what I enjoy doing. Like a lot of people say to me, "Oh, you should learn how to DJ." I'm like, no, I don't want to DJ. I want to be a vocalist, and I'm going to be a vocalist, and I'm going to be a really good one. Like I'm not going to learn how to DJ because people don't want to book vocalists. But I've been very fortunate that you know I've been getting booked to play the kinds of gigs that I've played. Um, and I think people are just like warming up to the fact that it's possible.
Mm, mm.
So I'm gonna keep doing that, and then maybe when I'm 50, I'll rebrand as a grandma DJ.
Grandma
Um,
DJ.
but for now, I'm just gonna play. I'm just gonna do my thing.
Cool, cool. Yeah, man. I mean, let me not say man, Jackie. By the way, is your surname Queens or was it just a?
No, it's not. See, I
Okay,
don't even know if my
I
surname is
don't
Queen.
know. I mean, like you from the UK, apparently.
No, it's the Queens I got from DJ X Trio, who's from Angola. So yeah, I didn't want to use my surname, and then he was like, "How about Queens?" And I was like, "That sounds cool." And then it stuck.
Cool, cool. But thank you so much for joining me. Like I feel like what you stand for, like the stuff that you've put up online, the stance about gender equality within our music industry, and also just about educating other people on how to get by with their careers. It's really dope because I think that sometimes we wait until we are these big artists before we think that we can share knowledge, but we can share knowledge from any time because somebody is in the exact same position that you found yourself in when you were starting out. Somebody doesn't know how to send an email, somebody doesn't know how to request for a collaboration. So it's things like this that I feel like sharing knowledge and experiences does help other people. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. Thank you. I love your show, by the way. You know that, right?
Thank you, thank you. Yes, I do. Thank
Said
you.
it already. But
You've
I'm going to say it now again.
Thank you, thank you. I really appreciate it. You've met Ryan Megatroid before, right?
Ryan! Yes,
Yes.
I've met Ryan.
What do you think about him? I have to ask.
No, man. The story with Ryan is that years ago, when I lived in Cape Town, they were doing a tour of um, Portugal, and I can't believe you. They were doing a tour of Portugal, and Nonku couldn't go, so they asked me to come and play. And I mean, I was green then. I'd never performed like house music live. I'd never. Somewhere on the internet is a video of me at the Nova Era Awards. I'm so thankful you didn't find that.
Maybe I will.
No, don't. Singing, oh, shucks. What was the name of that song? Zoma. Before it came out, before it was released here. And yeah, they were up for an award. And so was Liquid Deep, I think. They were up for an award as well. And then we ended up playing at, oh man, these like clubs. Oh my word, we played at like two clubs or something. And the one we we emerged from that place when the sun was out, like 7 o'clock in the morning. It was really wild. Like it was my first time playing overseas, and I just, even to this day, it still feels really surreal. Like every time I see Ryan or Bakis, I'm just like, that happened. That actually happened. Like it was a whirlwind, and I was in between like studying for my honors at the time. So I like literally carted all my books because I was doing my thesis. And I remember Ryan saying to me, "What is in that bag?" Like, he was like, "Are you sure you're traveling with all the stuff? It's only 5 days." And I was like, "I am writing my thesis."
Wow. Wow, I'm glad I asked you this question, right? Because tomorrow on the show, I do have Ryan Megatroid as a guest. He's a super super talented producer. If many people don't know him, you might know him from the group Crazy White Boy. Yeah,
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 that
super.
was it.
The
Yeah, that was the name of the group. Oh
Yeah,
man, right.
Ryan
I remember
Megatroid.
you taught me about the circle of fifths too.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, like he was really a founding member of the Soul Candy Institute of Music. Like the whole school really started with Ryan Megatroid, and I'm so excited to be hosting him on the show tomorrow. But anyway, Jackie Queens, thank you once again for sitting down with me and having a chat. I will be hitting you up with regards to the British Shandies and
I don't
be,
I don't have it.
before I'm 35 years old.
Oh, you're 35.
Before I'm 35, I will be sending you something, an email.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. But
Well,
thank you so much.
thanks a lot.
Cool.
Bye.
Guys, thank you for watching this. Thank you. I really appreciate the love and support. If you enjoyed the show, please text somebody who might also enjoy it, who might learn from it, especially. Please share the video so more people can see it, and let's keep on growing this platform. Yeah, and remember to stay creative. Peace out.